We're going to break down a very simple scapular articulation, and I will show you how we integrate that into some of our upper body movements. So we're going to be working on scapular elevation and depression today. So the scapula are going to slide up and slide down on the back. Think about the shoulder blades as floating on your back. So the shoulder blades are going to glide as they move along your back, and that is going to root your shoulder into your back as your arm moves all around. So in this very specific example, we are going to elevate and depress the scapula, which means that we're going to slide the scapula up. Notice how that also lifts my shoulders. And then we're going to depress the scapula, slide the scapula down. So it looks like a shoulder shrug, right? So that's exactly what we're going to be doing, but let's first break down some tools to use to help you really isolate those scapula and get the most out of that articulation. The scapula are really hard to feel because they're behind you. You can't see them. And if we are not used to moving those scapula for a long period of time over the course of years, and we are constantly in this protracted position here, typing on our phones, driving to work, right? We're not really getting the full use of those scapula. So let's bring that movement back to the scapula. And in order to do that, we need to feel where they are in space. So I want you to back up against a wall, and your feet are going to be out in front of you. Arms are going to be slightly out to the side. Your palms can face in, forward, back, whatever feels good. But I want you to make sure that as you're against this wall, that the back of the rib cage is also pressed into the wall. So we're not going to pop the rib cage out away. And I also want you to make sure that the back of your head is pressed into the wall without lifting your chin this way. So we're going to retract that chin in and avoid pulling that chin forward. Your feet are going to be slightly out away from you. You can soften those knees. So we've got this very supported upper body position against the wall. And we're just going to slide the shoulder blades up, literally feel the scapula slide up the wall, which is going to elevate the scapula and raise the shoulders up towards your ears. Make sure that the shoulders are not coming away from the wall either. That's a different scapular articulation that we're not going to really get into today. And then I want you to slide the shoulders and shoulder blades down the wall, making sure that the rib cage doesn't pop out away. So we're going to slide those shoulder blades up. And if you feel those compensations happening, then we probably need to take some of that range of motion away from that movement and slide the scapula down. And one more time, we're going to slide the scapula up. And we're going to slide the scapula down. Elevate, depress. So now let's do that, but add some external load. So we're going to basically do the same exact thing away from the wall, right? Imagine that you are still against that wall as we go through these shoulder shrugs up and down. So you're just going to grab some light external load, and these are just like our shoulder shrugs, but the more we can isolate those scapula and really work with that intentional deep range of motion, the more we're going to get out of these scapula, the more we're going to get out of these shrugs. So we want maximum engagement of the muscles that are performing the movement. So we want maximum range of motion. So imagining that I'm still against the wall, we're going to do 5 reps really, really slow. So make sure that the rib cage is pulled back, retract that chin, right? Making sure that the shoulders just slide straight up as high as you can go towards the ears, and then slide those scapula straight down. Now the weights are going to help you pull into more depression. So use that, really reach for the floor with those weights. And again, we don't want them collapsed in towards your body here, just slightly out away from you. We're going to lift up, 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 shrugging those scapula towards the ears, making sure that we're not protracting those scapula or pulling them forward. And depress. Slowly reaching down. We want that eccentric to be nice and slow and controlled. And let's do that 3 more times. Elevate straight up with those scapula. Depress, maximum range of motion. Reach down as far as you can go. That way you get the most out of the up. Last 2, imagine you're still gliding those scapula right along the wall. Depress. And let's go one more time, sliding up, and depress and release. All right. So that's our very basic elevation depression of the scapula. Now we're going to add a little bit more to that with some upward and downward rotation of the scapula just by reaching the arms in a different position. The intention is still going to be the same, but we're going to do this in different orientations. So grab a towel or a dowel or a stick, and we're going to do the same elevation depression, but with the hands behind you. So you're going to be about shoulder width apart. We want that same retraction of the chin, making sure that the rib cage and the spine is not moving as we do this. You're going to pull that stick or towel apart and reach it behind you an inch or two. So that's going to slightly promote this downward rotation of the scapula or some slight retraction, squeezing together of those scapula. But we're going to try to keep that rotation as we go into elevation depression, meaning we're just going to try to keep the stick away from the hips as you elevate and depress. Okay, so we're pulling apart. And then we're elevating. We're going to slide those shoulders up. So notice that even this very small change in orientation with the arms slightly behind you, it's going to cause a smaller range of motion with that elevation. And depression, I want you to pull apart and really reach down towards the floor. Let's try that 2 more times. Elevate, squeezing, lifting up. Keep those elbows straight throughout this movement. You might feel a lot of tricep work as you're doing this as well. And we'll go 1 more time, sliding up, shrug without that rib cage popping out, and depress. So if that was difficult for you to feel and find, then stick with that progression. But if we're ready to add some external load to it, we're going to try a couple of scapular dips. So this is basically, we are setting up as if we were about to do tricep dips on a bench or a step stool or a chair. So the higher up, the easier it's going to be. So if I do my scapular dips off of the step stool, which is very high, you're just going to have a seat with your hands kind of underneath you. Just turn your fingers wherever is most comfortable. And then you're going to slide your hips forward slightly and try to maintain that depression of the shoulders, right? Now we're going to slowly resist the elevation. So you're going to slowly lower your hips down without letting that protraction happen, shoulders forward or elbows bent. Then from here, we're going to push down into the bench or the step stool to lift yourself back up. So we'll feel that depression as that happens. So as you elevate, we're going to control that descent. And then as you depress, we're going to squeeze and push down. Keep going. We're going to do a few more. I'm going to show you from a lower surface. So if I do these on the P-bars, we're going to elevate slowly, resisting, and then depress, pushing down, trying to lift yourself high. Last 2, elevate, slowly resisting that elevation of the scapula or sliding up without letting that protraction or rounding of the shoulders happen. Push down. And let's go 1 more time. These can be really, really difficult because we're pushing our body weight without actually bending the arms, right? So these can make you really, really sore. So this is basically, once we depress, that is the position that you would do a tricep dip in, just trying to maintain that depression of the scapula as you go through that dip. Okay, so let's do a different orientation. Now we're going to grab our stick or towel again, and we're going to do this with the arms overhead. This is going to promote a little bit of upward rotation of the scapula. We're going to combine that with elevation and depression of the scapula as well. So you're going to, again, use your wall. I'm going to show you on the squat rack. And we're going to lift those arms overhead. Arms are about shoulder width. Now you're going to lift as high as you can go without letting that spine arch. So you're going to get as far as you can into that shoulder flexion. My rib cage is down, my chin is retracted, and then you're going to walk towards the wall. So as we elevate, depress, I don't want you to hit the wall with that stick. So we're going to keep that stick pulling away, and I don't want you to pop that rib cage or the hips forward into the wall either. So we're using that wall as a tool to avoid with this one. So arms are overhead. We're nice and close to that wall, as close as you can be without hitting the wall with that stick. And then as you lift and lower the scapula, we're trying not to get any closer to the wall. So we're gonna elevate more by shrugging those shoulders towards the ear. And then you're gonna depress, pulling those shoulder blades down. Now this one you might notice that you get a little more range of motion out of the elevation because we're also combining that upward rotation, and a little less as we go into that depression, because as the arms go overhead, we do need to use some elevation and some upward rotation. Let's do 3 more just like that against the wall. I'll show you this way. Sliding up. Depress, sliding down. Once again, making sure those elbows stay nice and straight. Last 2, elevate. Keep pulling that towel or stick apart. Depress. And let's go one more time. Elevate with that upward rotation and depress. So if that was really confusing or difficult, stay with that progression and try it again. If you're ready to add some external load, we're gonna do this from a hanging position. This is the very start of a pull-up. So we're gonna do a scapular pull-up. Now, if you don't have access to a pull-up bar or you're still working on a dead hang, then you can also do a monkey hang with 2 sticks. You're just gonna place them at 3 and 9 o'clock next to those feet, grab up tall, and then you're gonna sink your hips down so that you're giving your weight to the sticks and hanging there without really giving your full body weight to a hang, right? You can also modify this hang by doing this on a step stool. As you go into your hang, your feet are just going to be out in front of you, giving you some assistance into that hang. Again, we want the hands to be about shoulder width apart. We're not really looking for a wide grip with this one for now. So from this hang position, we're going to be here for a little while. So make sure you've got a nice tight grip, or come down and take a breath. We're going to do that same thing. So now we're going to depress. This is basically that same movement, but just like the dips, we're now in a closed chain position. So the hands aren't moving. We're instead pulling our body up towards the bar, and then let those scapula elevate towards the ears. And then drive those shoulder blades down. Make sure we're not arching too much here. Keep that rib cage down. And release. Let's do 3 more. I'll show you from this angle. Last 3. Hold. Try to get a nice little hold at the top there. Hold. Last one. Hold. And then, like I said, this is the first step of our pull-up. So from that dead hang, the first step is that depression all the way up to the pull-up, and then finish back in that dead hang. So that's a very general overview of the elevation and depression of the scapula and how we can apply that to our upper body strength movements in order to get more muscle recruitment, therefore stronger lifts and more gains. If you found this helpful, please like and subscribe. Any questions you have, drop them in the comments below, and I will see you next time.